CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. All right, thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to learn about some technology and the journey to present day with our special guest. It's Ray Bartolomucci. He is co-founder of Roopairs Technology. It's a modern cloud-based dispatch software, and it's built for commercial kitchen repair companies and manufacturers. There's a backstory, and we're going to jump into all of that. Ray, welcome to CMMS Radio.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Really appreciate it. I love what you do with the show. Been following you for a while, so it's an honor to be here.
I appreciate it, and for me, it's an honor to have you. We've been working on this for a while to get you on. I know we started talking, God, it feels like it might have been a year ago, and we happen to know some people in common, and what I'm excited about today is to hear about your journey story, how this all started for you, and of course for your brother David Bartolomucci. And I want to have you go back to your younger days and kind of tell us about that background and experience, and then bring us up kind of to present day and how this all started for you guys.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Greg. So I grew up in the restaurant industry. Ever since I could walk, I started as a dishwasher. So my dad, very old school, put me to work right away as soon as I could walk. Started washing dishes. I would be a prep boy, prep all of the pasta in the restaurants. And my dad, he was an entrepreneur in and of itself, and he's grown 9 Italian restaurants, family owned, here in the Bay Area. So 2 different concepts, full service restaurant, fine dine, and then a couple QSRs as well. So he's been very successful in his journey. And I really got to get a taste of that at a young age. So worked in the restaurants growing up. Going to school, I played sports, so was big into baseball and football. Went to De La Salle High School. If anyone is familiar with high school sports, De La Salle, they've always been known for their football. Made a movie about us, and when I was there, we were number 1 in the nation, hence the state ring here. So have a couple rings, and was very grateful to be a part of that program. Going into college, played baseball, did that whole D1 scholarship route. Went to Valparaiso in Indiana, also known as the school known for that famous basketball shot. So I went there, played baseball in the cornfields. And when I was out in Indiana, I realized I wanted to do something more with my life. I got a bit burned out with baseball, and I started Googling a school online. I remember vividly, I was in North Carolina. It was 1 a.m. I was starting the next day. And I started Googling schools, and this URL kept popping up, and it kept saying American Italian University in Rome. And it kept popping up. I finally clicked on it. It was like 3 a.m. at the time. And I clicked on it. I sent in all my credits that night, and they got back to me the next day, and they accepted everything. So this was my sophomore year of college. I called my parents up the next day, and I said, hey, Mom and Dad, I am leaving my full-time scholarship, and I want to move to Rome, Italy. I'm packing my bags. My mom thought I was crazy, and my dad was very excited for me. So that was really the start of changing my trajectory in my life. So I ended up moving to Italy, lived out there, graduated from university, started a software company out there. So I got the startup bug with some buddies for my entrepreneurship class. And that's really what changed my trajectory in my life. So always going to be a food service operator at heart. And then I went to the tech side. So when I was actually in Italy, I started a company called Mr. Fix with some friends. And it was almost like the Home Advisor Angie's List of the Italian market.
Yeah.
And usually in Europe, they're about 5 to 10 years behind with more of the commercialized technologies. They're usually 5 to 10 years ahead with fashion. So it's a little bit of a swip swap there.
Yeah.
But that's where I got the bug. We did everything wrong in that company. Just, classic, first time founder mistakes. And when I was out in Italy, my dad came to visit me, and we were going to see our cousins in the South. We were on a bus, and he looked at my business plan. I was telling him how, we had this grand vision for the company to really, make it a big home run shot. And he looked at me and said, son, you should really come back to America. You're going to be out here for the next 7 to 10 years at least. Why don't you come back to America and build software for the restaurant equipment service industry, the food equipment industry? Because, son, this is where we need it. You grew up in the industry. I have problems managing my equipment in my facility.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you try and solve something around this $30 billion repair market? And that's what got me thinking, actually. That's when that flicker of a light, it wasn't a light bulb because I didn't know what I wanted to do really yet. I just knew that there was this market of commercial kitchen equipment that was very intriguing to me. And so when I started doing a bunch of research in the market, I saw the opportunity of how big the market was, started looking at the different parts of the market. And then I called up my brother and I said, hey, David, you want to start a company with me? And that's really where it started. David was a sophomore in college at the time. I was just graduating. So
Yeah.
that was the pure beginning of Roopairs at its earliest light.
One of my favorite things about the story, and some of it you might not have told yet, but we've talked so many times, is how you and your brother, I mean, especially with the influence of your father, but you and your brother were coming up in this environment. So you really truly understood when your dad brought that up. You knew exactly what he was talking about. You didn't have to do any guesswork on that. But then you went and did the research. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you did the right thing. You called your brother to make him your first business partner because you kind of have to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So when it came to the environment that you were in and how you've come into this space from the technology side, these problems are so common with the commercial kitchens where you can't keep up because you're busy running some other part of your business and it just becomes a distraction. Is that kind of one of the ways you were looking at solving for this issue when it comes to keeping up with not just the repairs, but if I recall correctly, you're also really focusing in on the suppliers for that comprehensive vertical?
Yeah, that's right. Before I get into the value proposition of what we provide, I think it's appropriate, since it's CMMSradio. Our initial idea was actually just to build a very simple tool for my dad to track his equipment in his facility and shoot out a work order to service providers in the area. Probably sounds familiar, right?
Absolutely.
And so when we were looking at the market, there was a lot of big corporate enterprise facilities management software, CMMS systems out there. We originally thought that we wanted to thrive with small business, mom and pop restaurants, something very simple, very easy, something that they can get their hands on and just start working right away. And we noticed very quickly as entrepreneurs that building a marketplace is really, really tough. And to your point, as a small business operator, equipment management and understanding the analytics and maintaining your equipment, unfortunately, is not top of mind. And putting myself in the shoes of us restaurateurs, we're more concerned about making sure that our guests are happy and fed, that our operating POS system is working properly, that we are basically maintaining the standards and consistencies of our recipes and making sure that our staff is involved and very intentional with our culture. And so there is so many things going on in a restaurant operations. The last thing that a restaurant wants to worry about is a fryer or an oven breaking down. And unfortunately, when you need it most, that's when it's the most that's when it's the most busy, but that's when it breaks down. And so let's be real here. On a busy Friday night, that oven's not going to break on a Tuesday. It's going to break right before Friday night. and so us as restaurateurs growing up, what would we do? We'd complain about trip charges. We would complain about overtime fees. And from that perspective, I naively laugh nowadays because now I have a better understanding of the service side and the supplier side. And that was actually the original concept. what shifted our focus was actually a moment in our journey where we started going into these commercial kitchen repair offices, and we started to do some more research. And we would notice that they would take a Roopairs job from, let's say, one of the mom and pop's restaurants, and they would double enter it into their field service software, operating system, dispatch system, whatever you want to call it. And then we asked them, wait, why are you doing that? Why don't you just use Roopairs to manage it all? And naively, we would ask that question, and they would respond, well, we don't just receive jobs from you. We receive jobs from 5, 10, 15 other facilities management softwares with the big chains, with corporate and industrial facilities. We also receive jobs from all the different manufacturers for warranty work, up to 100, 200 different manufacturers in some cases. So we have to deal with those portals, and we have to process those payments. We also receive jobs from dealers and, old school email, phone call, and fax machines. So there was so many different ways to ingest a job. And for the service provider, they would have to double enter it into their field service. They would triple enter it back into that third-party portal to make sure they get paid and keep the statuses, keep the operators apprised of the work status. And then they would quadruple enter it into their ERP accounting system. So as we learned more about the workflows of the commercial kitchen repair company, we naturally were so intrigued by this massive problem. And as entrepreneurs, where do we gravitate? We gravitate to solve big problems. Anyone who starts a company or builds a company up knows that what is the number one thing anyone wants to know? They want to know how to solve the problem. How do you solve my problems so that I could become more successful? And so this was a massive problem we saw. But on top of that, we asked them, wait a second, is this the system you use to track all of your business from end to end? And I remember this office lady's face. She would look me in the eyes with sheer pain. And she was like, yeah, this is what I have to use on a day-to-day basis. Every time I'd look at the screen, it would make my eyes hurt. We're talking DOS-based legacy systems. I mean, server-based. They store them in their office closets. And we were just blown away by not only all of the different inefficiencies and workflows and how they have to ingest jobs, but also their core platform that runs their entire business was lacking. And if there was a service company that was using cloud-based field service software, plumbers also used it. Landscapers also used it. All of these different trades were using this one-size-fits-all field service software. And so finally, my brother and I were so frustrated by this problem that we wondered, wait, why isn't there a field service platform to specifically gear features for the commercial kitchen service industry? Let's build core field service software, but build it for commercial kitchen companies. And so really that's when Roopairs was born. And that's when we started working with repair companies to build a modern solution geared for their industry.
This part of the story is, and I've told you before, but a lot of people that watch the episodes or that know me, I'm always so interested in that specificity because that's where we know exactly why this was built, what it's solving, and it's not trying to be everything to everyone. You're finding one huge problem with, a lack of efficiency because of all these disparate systems, and they got to do double, triple, quadruple entry. It's nonsense, but it is what it is. And now you're going in and solving it. It's a big problem, and that problem translates across anybody that's doing field service and their clients, right? So you start creating this loop to get it all connected together, and you're not trying to be everything to everyone. You're saying, hey, if you have this problem and you're in field service or you have a commercial kitchen, this will fix that. And I like that specificity because it's not guesswork. When someone goes out and looks for a CMMS platform, a facilities maintenance management solution, or any of these things, even a Roopairs, they have to go through hundreds of companies and they see who rises to the top. Is it because they paid for advertising? Oh, they have all these great reviews and all that stuff. And What they really need to know is what makes you tick, why do you exist, and how is it resonating. So that was going to be, obviously I tend to focus on CMMS, and I see Roopairs as a type of CMMS, but very specific for what you do. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about what resonates with your clients, whether it's a field service provider that's using it or otherwise. What are the things that you started to see as you started to develop this and deliver it that was making an impact quickly?
Yeah, that's a great question. To build off your point, we are FSM, Field Service Management Software. We partner with CMMS companies. So we are not a CMMS. We don't have that full, robust facilities management software side of things. We are partnering and connecting with these companies so that everybody can work better together. We want CMMS companies to focus on what they do really, really well, which is help track equipment for the operators, right? And we focus on what we do really well, which is streamlining and supercharging a commercial kitchen repair company and connecting the dots for them. So,
Yeah.
so just to be clear on that point, and when I look at this industry in general, as you said, it's very disparate, right? It's a very disparate system, and so connecting the dots is going to be where this industry has to go. Because it's not just the manufacturers, it's the parts distributors, the dealers, the manufacturer reps, the operators. There's so many different people in the supply chain. And the minute you involve commercial kitchen equipment, that's when you involve parts and warranties and all the complexities and workflows. So when we first started this company, the biggest value proposition at the core of our platform was to help service companies track their equipment for their operators a lot more efficiently with data-driven results. Combined with tracking equipment, it's always been intertwined with the parts process. So tracking parts inventory at a very granular level, all of the different warehouses and trucks you have in the field, understanding your cash flow, time stamping everything, all the actions from the office in the field, and intertwining that with the equipment piece. So I'd say the secret sauce to why we thrive and why we're vertical is the equipment and the parts.
They go hand in hand, right?
Exactly. There's always going to be that core field service requirement of scheduling, dispatching, sending out invoices, sending out estimates. Every field service software should do that, right? But the question becomes, where do you go deep on these features? And where we really focus is equipment, parts management, and connecting the supply chain.
Again, that specificity is what matters to people. And, this, for anybody that listens, it's not so much the product itself, although that's great. What we're really talking about here is people and process, and what can we do to make that better, faster, without losing any quality of workmanship and response times and all that. And that's the whole point of it. So I wanted to ask this: when it comes to the next kind of part of your journey, because I'm seeing a lot of things hit the feed and news about clients signing up, and I'm curious what's next for Roopairs when it comes to the technology. Is there anything that you're working on you're allowed to share, or is it more like we got to wait and see?
Yeah, so great question. Our customers right now are commercial kitchen service companies that do hot side, cold side. They're sometimes going to do the roof as well with HVAC and everything in between, beverage equipment, hot side, cold side. That's our sweet spot. Right now, our customer base, we serve anywhere from independents to 20 technician companies. We focus on bringing in customers that are at 3 to 5 technicians, 10 technicians that are looking to scale to 10 or 20 or 30. So we're looking at the next generation, the younger generations that are growing like crazy, have amazing company culture, bringing in these younger techs. We're not so much focused on the old school companies that have been running their business for 50, 60 years, and they're really looking to sell. We focus on the next generation that value modern tech, value industry-specific commercial kitchen software. But really, we love to be at the beginning stages of that journey for their growth. And it's really exciting to see, for example, one of our customers, shout out Matt Brunty, owner and operator of Restaurant Equipment Diagnostics in West Virginia. He started with us. It was him, his brother, and one other tech. So 3 techs in the field. They've scaled from 3 technicians to 18 technicians in the last 2.5 years. And what excites me more about that journey is the streamlining workflows and cutting overhead. So, for example, the industry standard is for every 2 to 3 technicians, you usually need 1 office staff person to manage that process, right? With Roopairs, our industry repair standard is for every 10 to 15 technicians, you only need 1 office staff member. So for Matt Brunty's company in particular, he has 2 office staff and 18 techs. I believe he was at 10 techs before he even hired his first office staff person, because what he would do is he would just run the entire business from his phone in the field. And even when he went back to his office, he would kick up his feet on the desk, wouldn't even touch his laptop, because the experience is so smooth, easy, and robust from a mobile phone. And that's another piece to the puzzle that, in our opinion, every other field service software really misses. Any functionality you can do from the computer, you can do from your phone in a very easy way. A lot of software companies recommend, your technician should use tablet in the field. No, screw that. We say, hey, use mobile, works great. If your technician has big thumbs, well, we can't help you with that. He should get that. But really, that's our sweet spot. We love to work with small business companies. To your question, where do we see ourselves going next in this journey? Well, just like any company that's growing, we want to get to that mid-market level. So we want to start bringing on these 30, 40, 50, 100 technician companies. And usually for these larger organizations, there's going to be more granular requirements, more permissions, more at-scale features that are just going to help them automate even more of the process. So we're really focusing on fine-tuning and developing more of our platform so that it can mature for these larger mid-market companies to accelerate our growth. We have some very exciting plans to verticalize and integrate the industry. Unfortunately, I can't quite speak on that yet because we are in stealth mode on a couple of these projects. But what I can tell you is that with Roopairs, a commercial kitchen repair company, will be able to run their entire business from every part of the ecosystem on one platform. That is where we're going. That is the vision, and that is our product roadmap.
Yeah, that's and it's exciting stuff, and we'll figure out when we can get the real info out there. We'll do that later on. I want to switch you into what I tend to call the fun question segment of everyone's first appearance on CMMS Radio. And this is more like, having a little bit of fun, asking you some somewhat personal questions, nothing too racy or anything like that, right? So first one I'm going to go with is, what is your favorite music?
That's a really good question. So, it depends on the mood. That's such a generic answer, but what I will tell you that I've been listening to a artist in particular a lot lately, called Cannons. Not sure if you've heard of Cannons.
I have.
Yeah, they're a great band. More of the calm, catchy tunes, more vibey type music. Love reggae, love alternative. If I'm going out, we're going to probably put on some pop and some hip hop and, some tunes that are going to get me fired up a bit. But I like to listen to many genres. I used to say no country, but when I moved to the cornfields in Indiana, I was listening to quite a bit of country on the back roads. So
it's interesting how context matters, like where you are, who you're with when it comes to music. So there's no wrong answers with any of these. It's just really fun to talk about because it kind of transcends everything when you talk about music. So next one, and I think we have a hint on this already from earlier in the episode, but I'm going to ask it anyway. what is your favorite sport or hobby? And on the sport, it does not have to be one that you play. It could be one that you just like to watch and support and kind of follow.
Yeah. Baseball and football were growing up. But if I'm going to say one hobby slash profession that I hold dearly to my heart, it's snowboarding.
Nice.
During the winters, you're going to catch me on the mountain. I'm going to catch a lunch break usually for 1 or 2 hours every day, and just I love being in the mountains. I love being in nature. Love hiking. Love snowboarding. Love skiing. I was actually just in Schladming, Austria, for a 2-week snowboard and ski trip, skiing the glaciers out there with my mom and dad, and that was an amazing experience. I love to travel. I have a huge passion for traveling. My mom has always been a flight attendant growing up. So my brother and I, we would fly everywhere for free. And so this whole idea of just jumping on a plane and going somewhere has been so normalized for us all of our lives.
Yeah.
So I love traveling. I love catching the fresh powder wherever I can go. And I truly find joy on the mountain snowboarding and, cracking a nice beer,
Sure.
seeing a beautiful sunset and hanging out with my friends and people that I love. Something that I always like to remind myself of, my mantra in life is happiness is circumstantial, but joy is eternal. So you have to find your joy in life. And one of my true joys that I hold dear to my heart is snowboarding.
Love it. Love it. Cause I can see it. People will be able to hear it, and it's good stuff. Now,
what about you?
Oh man, I hate being put on the spot with that one because I have so many choices. So as far as sports and things like that, I played some sports when I was youngster, then kind of grew out of it. But these days, yeah, I love my football, and I root for a team that breaks my heart every year. And I really like mixed martial arts. And I think there's a couple other ones mixed in there, but I think from a sports perspective, that's probably the two, the football and the mixed martial arts. But I also like cars and driving fast and trying to get on track. I've only done that. Actually, I only did that once, but I dig that stuff too. So I'm kind of eclectic. I'm tough to pin down on that one.
So I'm sure you appreciated UFC 300.
Absolutely. It was it was pretty incredible, especially Max Holloway.
Oh yeah.
Laying it on the line, him and Gagey just throwing down for the BMF, and that was classic. 1 second to go, man, going to sleep. Boom.
Oh yeah. Shout out Dana.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, they killed it with that one. Not to mention the bonuses they gave out were phenomenal. So love to see that. So final fun question for you. No wrong answers on this one. What is your perspective, opinion, your thoughts on work-life balance?
My perspective on that is balance is key. As entrepreneurs, it is so easy to become consumed uncontrollably with your business and with your idea. And there has been many times in this journey where I've been super burned out. And what I've learned along the way is when you're building a business or when you're in the workplace, whatever you find joy in for your career, make sure you have the balance of finding things that give you joy outside of the business world, because that's going to give you that even keel sense where you don't get too high with emotions and you don't get too low, because everything's being balanced out. Some of the most crazy times in my journey have been when I've been super high or when I've been super low. If you're super low, that's rough. When you're super high, that's even more rough because there's only one way down, right? Going super low. And so in my journey, making sure that you spend time with the people you love, if it's faith, whatever grounds you in this world, right? Make sure that you understand who you are as a person, your identity, and do the things that you love, because time is something we cannot take back. And there's many people out there that criticize my brother and I because we travel so much. Um, but what they don't know is we also work overtime while we travel. We live in a world where we have the privilege to work remotely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if David wants to fly down to LA for a day, he can, because he can work on the flight. He can work on his computer. He can work on his phone. For me, if I want to go to Austria for 2 weeks, I can do that. And I can still work my ass off in the company.
Yeah.
But what truly matters is balance. And anyone who will tell you that all they do is live, breathe, and sleep, their work, I don't care what they say, that becomes super unhealthy and it'll eventually bite them in the butt. And then they're going to have to take a breather for a while. I mean, hey, if you can stay 24/7 for your entire life on one thing and one goal and just like never do anything outside of that work, props to you. But for me personally, how I can stay driven as just a human being and optimize my relationships and my business work environment, it's through my personal times of going on the mountain, spending time with friends, digging into my faith, and understanding like who I am as a person and what I want in my life.
Yeah. And behind all of that, it's almost like that's what you're really working for,
Exactly.
because that's the thing. And they go hand in hand, because it's pretty damn rare, if not impossible, that you're going to be in a situation where you're not working at something, towards something. And we all are human beings, so we have desires and wants. And this thing about joy that you mentioned is really important. I saw something today on LinkedIn about that, where that's a critical component, something that we don't want to leave our lives, because when it does, then it gets even harder, to move forward. And it's not an easy thing to answer, because it's different for everyone. So that's why I always tell everyone, it's not that there's a right answer. It's that whatever your answer is right for you is going to help somebody. They're going to get an idea, or they're going to go, yeah, that's something. And there's going to be people that go, I don't believe any of that. Da, 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 da. And that's fine too. It's all good, man. That's why I like these conversations to be so organic.
You hit it spot on. Everyone has a subjective way of what gives them joy, right? And what fulfills them. There is no right answer, right? Because everyone lives their own life. Who am I to judge someone else? Who am I to say what is right and what is wrong, right? And when I look at my life in particular, my identity is not defined by my work. Because if my identity was being the CEO and co-founder of Roopairs, well, am I going to be doing Roopairs my entire life? Probably
Probably
not.
not.
Probably not. And so what happens after my identity is taken away from me? Right? Who
You
am I?
sink.
Who am I if I'm not the CEO and co-founder of Roopairs?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so it's really important for anybody who's watching this, where make sure not to tie your identity to something that could be temporary. Whether it's short term or long term, a long term is still temporary,
Yeah.
right? Because eventually it's going to fall off. Where I find my identity is in my faith and in Jesus Christ. He died on the cross for my sins. So I respect anyone's faith and what they believe in life, but that's where I'm grounded in my identity.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, exactly why there's no wrong answer. And it resonates somewhere with someone. And in this case, it resonates with you. And that's what matters for me, because we want to understand not just repairs, why this great technology exists and what this journey you're on, but we want to understand Ray and a little bit about your brother and how you kind of move through the world. And I think people find it not just interesting, but it helps them to kind of, in a sense, know you should they ever work with you. So, on that note, I want to remind everyone you can check out Roopairs at www.roopairs.com. That's ROOPAIRS.com. And you can find Ray on LinkedIn. It's Ray Bartolomucci.
Yeah, nice long Irish last name, right?
This is so good, man. I want to thank you for being here with me, Ray. We'll do this again in the future, but thank you for being on CMMS Radio and sharing your journey story. And I'm going to say, stay hopping.
Stay hopping.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.